Hi everyone, this is Richard. In this video, let's talk about nullable types. What's a nullable type? I think I got this down. Again, I'm still learning, remember? So when we have something, we hover over fur color, it says non-nullable property fur color must contain a non-null value when exiting constructor. What does that actually mean? Okay, so when you get a string or an int or a bool, whatever, there's going to be some default values. So the default value of fur color of a string, I believe it's going to be like an empty string. That's what it is. The default for age is going to be 0. So in other words, when you get an integer and you declare it, but you don't initialize it, the value is going to be 0. And bool, the bool, when you initialize it, but you don't declare it, is going to be, by default, it's going to be false. So for example, dog.age it's going to be 0. Okay? So what is the big deal? Well, when you're running your program, for example, let's just talk about age, and the default is 0, if maybe you forgot somewhere along the line to give your dog an age, but there's not really a 0 age, right? There's maybe a 1 month age, but there's not really a 0 age, and it may cause some problems in your program. So the big deal is just that you want to know exactly what to expect with your program. So if you forgot to give it a value, instead of saying your dog is 0, you should say, wait a minute, you forgot to give your dog an age. That's what you should do. So you don't want the value to be default 0. You want the default value to be null, right? So no value at all. And so that sometimes can be helpful for you when your program gets very complicated, all right? So here, how do you do that? After the type, what you just do is you put a question mark inside here, okay? So that makes it nullable. Nullable. So in other words, the default for age will not be 0 any longer. It's 0 here. The default is not 0. It's going to be null. So in other words, you could put a conditional that says if dog.age equals null, then put in a value. Okay, so we can confirm this. Does the dog.age equal null? And if you run it, should be true. True. If we don't null it, dog.age, it should be 0, so this would be false. Okay, so it kind of does it for you. You don't need to run it. The IDE already does this for you. So it's always going to be false, so that would be false. All right, so but if you put a question mark, this is nullable. This can be a null value, but the default for C# is no, you cannot have null for these values. Instead, they default to a certain value itself. Okay? Actually, I'm not sure what happens if you do this. What happens if you do that? I think that's an error. It is non-nullable, but again, if you put a question mark here. And this is redundant, of course, because it would automatically be null. You don't have to say equals to null. I don't know, if you're new, if you need to do that, that's fine, I guess. So that's nullable types. I hope that's clear. I don't think this is going to be helpful for me at all when you're really in advanced computers and you have lots of variables all over the place going everywhere. That's a different story. That might be very, very helpful. But for me, for now, good to know. Okay, thanks.